Once upon a time, in the land of Zinnia, lived a queen who ruled with a just yet joyful hand. She was admired by all of her subjects, and they all lived harmoniously together. But all were not so joyful about her enduring rule. Just outside the borders of Zinnia lurked the Wildlands. There, dangerous creatures and thorny vines sprawled as far as the eye can see, and in the deepest, darkest corners of those lands, an uprising was stirring of those who did not agree with the joyful and united ways of Zinnia. So, this unruly group lay in wait, shielded by the darkness, eagerly waiting for the perfect opportunity to infest the beautiful land of Zinnia. At this point, you may be asking yourself, what even is a blind box? Well, I'll tell you. A blind box is a sealed container that holds a collectible toy or figure inside. There's a large variety of different blind box themes and series you can choose from, but the specific item inside is always a mystery until opened. Having survived both Beanie Babies and Pokemon cards, I wasn't going to allow myself to get swept up in the blind box craze. But luckily, a friend of mine surprised me with a special Monsters One Piece blind box collaboration. And I couldn't wait to find out what was inside. Cue the drums of liberation. It's Sanji! How adorable, right? I thought this was so much fun that I decided to make my own series of blind boxes to share with my friends and family. How hard could it be, right? Welcome back to my channel, everyone. I'm very excited to share with you how I created my very own DIY blind box series. Some of you may be familiar with the more popular blind box brand Pop Mart. I personally love the little faces on the Skull Panda series. I love them so much that I wanted to try to recreate my own doll face version for my personal series. I decided to go with a small doll face mold and an air dry foam clay to create that smooth texture with more consistency and a lightweight feel. As long as I was able to get the clay as smooth as possible before pressing it into the mold, I would say this was a success. There were only a few small variations in the faces, but that was mostly due to my handling after removing the clay from the mold. I decided I would have 5 main designs, and in true blind box fashion, I came up with 2 extra secret designs. By the way, stick around to the very end of the video to see those secrets unboxed. After the faces were dry, I added these little swivel keychain connectors to the top and bottom of the head. The swivel feature would allow for the head to move independently from the body. I used a bendable wire to attach the 2 connectors together so that they would be more secure in the clay. The more I look at these little faces, the more I'm reminded of porcelain dolls. Did anyone else have a porcelain doll collection as a child? My sister and I actually had a pretty large collection of porcelain dolls, and we would store them in our closet because we were so afraid of them. We would then lock each other in the closet with those porcelain dolls and turn the lights off. You don't know what true fear is until you're sitting in the dark with a bunch of little dolls staring at you. If you're wondering exactly what I used to create my blind boxes, I always list the materials used in each video in the description below. Also, give this video a like if you're enjoying the content. It really helps the channel out. Once all of the swivel connectors were secured with the wire, I then wrapped that wire with more clay. That gave me the perfect surface to attach the little faces to. It took me a while to figure out what I wanted the theme to be for my blind boxes, but I finally settled on what's growing in my personal garden. I've been working on a little flower garden for the past couple months, and I thought it would be the perfect inspiration. This little fluffy flower is known as a celosia. Once the little heads were dry, it was time to move on to the body. I used my bendable wire as a base for the leaves and the stem. I shaped the wire to match the little celosia that I had picked from my garden. Once the base was secure, I used my air-dry foam clay to form the shape of the leaves and stem. I took my time with this part, making sure all of the metal was covered and the leaves were seamless. Some of the other flowers growing in my garden that influence my designs include zinnias, cosmos, amaranthus, and it's not technically growing in my garden, but I think they're adorable, daisies. You'll have to stick around to the end of the video to find out what influenced my two secret designs. After letting the clay dry for around 48 hours, I moved on to painting. To achieve that perfect pink base color for my zinnia-inspired design, I went with a mixture of titanium white and naphtha red light acrylic paint. I love using acrylic paint for my clay projects because it also acts as a sealant. I do, however, recommend some kind of priming base to cut back on the amount of layers you will need of paint. While that base pink dried, I started working on some of the finer details of my other designs. And don't think I'm doing all this by myself. I do have an assistant. Once that base paint was dry, I started working in layers, always adding a lighter color after the next to achieve that ombre effect on the petals. Okay, now that the painting is done, it's time to move on to the needle felted details. I really wanted to add a fluffy, soft feature to my dolls, and needle felting was the obvious choice. Something that was really cool about this project was that I was able to utilize some of the techniques from my previous videos. Like when I molded that Eastern dragon out of clay, or needle felted a Peter Pan inspired mobile for my new nephew's nursery. If you haven't seen either of those videos, be sure to check them out, but only after you finish this video, of course. After needle felting all of those small petals together for my celosia design, I was pleasantly surprised that the end product fit perfectly on the doll. Once the petals were carefully attached, I moved on to finishing all of the final details. These dolls turned out so cute, but the project isn't over yet. You can't have a proper blind box without the packaging. so much for watching this video, and please subscribe if you enjoyed the content. This was a really fun video to make, and as promised, it's time to reveal the secrets.